Hey guys, I'm Jean Paul. This is Royce again, and we've been talking about leadership, and I want to talk about communication and leadership, Royce. So, first though, I've heard it said that you can't lead anybody anywhere you haven't already been.
That's an interesting. I don't know if that's exactly true, because I can look somewhere and I can say, "Hey, we've never done this, but we're going this way," and you can get people to follow you. I imagine if all of a sudden you were, a castaway on some desert island and there was like a dozen people with you. You've never been a castaway before. You've never been on a desert island before, but who you are and, just being a natural leader going, okay, I know that shelter is probably going to be pretty important. I know finding water is going to be pretty important. Let's split up. I don't know where we are, but I know where we're going.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be my take.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what I was going for, because when we're talking about communication, especially communication and leadership, the mental image that I get is the leader is taking people somewhere that they've never been before.
Right.
But as leaders, I'm seeing more and more in life where even if it's just a matter of sitting down and planning something out, I've been there in my imagination.
Imagination, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's the direction I want to take this, because you and I both know plenty of managers, so-called leaders, that they may know what needs to be done, they may get a lot of performance out of a situation, but their communication style is to simply give you the next 3 steps in very detailed micromanaging fashion.
So, kind of an interesting side note on this is a question gets asked, what's the difference between, in my industry we have apprentices. What's the difference between an apprentice or a CEO? And people throw out all kinds of stuff. They go, well, maybe the CEO has a higher work ethic. Well, not necessarily. Maybe the apprentice just isn't as intelligent. Definitely not necessarily.
Right.
Intelligence, work ethic, all of those things, what separates them? And what it turns out to be after you try to check all these boxes that don't check, it's the apprentice is thinking to lunch. That's the extent of his vision. And his journeyman is probably thinking to the end of the day or the next couple days. The foreman is thinking out 3 weeks. The superintendent is thinking out 9 months to a year and a half, or whatever the duration of the project is.
Sure.
And the CEOs 10 to 15 years out. So it's just that kind of the distance in the vision, and
That's exactly what I was driving at, is that I've seen growth in my own life, and in relationship situations where I'm a leader, whether it's in a job situation over a bunch of people or it's just with my kids, is that how far out am I looking?
Yeah.
That's a part of going there ahead of other people.
Exactly. So if you want to become a leader and you can't see past the end of your nose, that's going to be one of the first things you need to deal with, is being able to see, further out into the future. So getting vision, one way or another, mostly.
Exactly.
Generally by imagining, here's the end goal. I imagine this.
Right. Because on the one hand, you can travel someplace. You can go walk a job site before you ever get your crew and your resources there. And so then, of course, you're going to be able to lead them. Or, back in the frontier days, a scout could go travel through the mountains and the woods and then find a pathway for people to follow. But that's not always necessary these days, especially with the resources we have available. I'm finding more and more it's mostly a matter of time, focus, and planning that really gets you out there ahead of whoever you're leading.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about communication the other day, and how some people want to just take 3 steps, turn to the left, and walk that out, versus giving somebody the picture, or the way I was putting it was paint for people a picture,
Right.
of the end result, the end destination, if you will.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how that gets more buy-in.
Right. It's like what I would say is there's a difference between a leader who can articulate and a leader who can cast vision.
Right.
And so if you've been to different leadership classes, they may have you go through an exercise. I think there's a popular one where one person is telling another person how to make a peanut butter sandwich, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And the person making the sandwich is actually going to try to do everything they can as exactly as you said it, but in a manner that doesn't actually work.
Sure.
So the whole exercise is to show you that as you're communicating, you need to be able to articulate what the end result or the goal or the next steps properly.
Sure.
But is that really the hallmark of a great leader? When you meet a great leader, do you go, wow, he told me how to get from here to the bathroom like nobody else.
Right.
I asked him where the bathroom was, and he told me exactly how many steps.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? When you meet a great leader, it's because they have a vision and they got you excited about it.
Exactly. It changes your energy level and your commitment to the end goal.
Exactly.
I mean, there still has to be an articulation of this is your wheelhouse, that's his. Everybody's got their part to play.
Right.
But it's amazing the attitude difference
Yeah.
that comes about when you are bought into a vision.
Yeah. And have you ever worked for somebody who's basically a micromanager? And you come to work
Yes.
and you're like, hey, I think we're trying to accomplish this. Is that right? And they go, I just want you to do this, this, and this today. And you're like, okay. And it gets done exactly how it's supposed to get done. It gets done on schedule, all that stuff. But your passion's not there.
No. Yeah, you're dragging yourself along, and heaven forbid you get done with those instructions and the person giving the instructions isn't available for the next part.
Yeah.
For me, though, when I hear that term micromanager,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of look inward and I go, even though I may cast vision in a work situation, I'm having to learn to cast vision for my kids.
Mm.
So
this doesn't just apply to if you want to become a boss at work.
Right. This is literally how you communicate with anyone. Because if you think about what we were talking about, how you feel about the person that's communicating,
Mm-hmm.
and if you can learn to cast vision, even if it's just the tiniest bit,
Mm-hmm.
in every little interaction, whether it's in your marriage, in your relationship with your kids, with people at church, or even people that you run into on the street. When instead of just barking orders or giving instructions,
Yeah.
you get them on board with some picture of a better outcome,
Mm-hmm.
and it tends to be a better result, a better feeling about you. It tends to generate more loyalty.
Yeah.
I think. I think a great example of this was in Jocko Willink's book, and toward the end of the book, he and Leif Babin are talking about briefing their superiors,
Mm-hmm.
and they put together this slide which showed the difference between the enemy-held territory at the beginning of their tour and the difference at the end.
Wasn't this under the leading up and down the chain of command section?
I don't remember exactly. It's been a little bit since I've read it. But what I loved was how Jocko, Leif, everybody that interacted with this slide realized that while they may or may not have done a good job of leading,
Mm-hmm.
they could have done better.
Mm.
It wasn't until after their 6-month tour they're looking at this and going, wow, had I known that was the end result,
Mm-hmm.
the little piece I was responsible for would have felt even more amazing.
Yeah. So I don't read a lot of books like he does, but as far as leadership books, you can't get too much better than Jocko Willink and Leif Babin in
Extreme Ownership. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fantastic book.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to tell a story of two different superintendents because that's my world.
Sure.
So it's an imaginary story, but it kind of drives the point home. So Superintendent A, he stands up front, and he's got a big group of people, and he says, today we're starting this project, and our goal is to have no safety incidents, and we're all going to be happy on this project. We're going to get along. You're all a bunch of great people. This project should go about 9 months, and at the end of this, the owner's going to be really happy with this project. It's going to go very well, and this is the direction we're going. And if you have any questions, call me. And okay, that's an interesting speech. And Superintendent B, on his project, he stands up and he says, I imagine a project that when we turn it over, the client is ecstatic because we turned it over on time. And I know every single one of you cares deeply about what you do. So I know the quality is going to be good. And I also know that I care significantly about safety. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that we address any safety concerns when they're small issues so that they never turn into big issues. I don't want to see anybody getting hurt. And I know none of you guys want to go home hurt. The project's going to be about 9 months. This is really going to be a fun project. My door is always open, but I'll be out in the field. I want to know what's going on with you guys. I think this is going to be a great project. Which project would you prefer to be on? I said almost nothing different.
Right. A lot of the same words. Definitely Superintendent B, if I'm guessing.
It's the passion, it's the excitement, it's the vision. One of the very first things Superintendent B said is, I imagine a project where instantly he's engaging your imagination.
This brings me back to some of the communication training that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, that is the start of a story.
Exactly.
And he starts to tell a story. He paints a picture with words, with tones, with emotions.
Yeah. Especially guys on a construction site. We're just, old school men and, we don't like emotions. Yeah, that's not true.
Right.
Yeah, we all have emotions. We all are proud of our work. We want to be around people that we enjoy being around. So, take the time to actually understand that words paint pictures. Yeah. And there's so much of the communication that's just in the way you say the word. Almost the exact same word can be said. But, take the time to learn. It's good stuff.
Yeah. There's a ton more we could talk about on this, guys. We've got a lot of resources. We'll plug a few of them into the bottom of the video here. But check it out. You can take your leadership to the next level, whether it's in a big position at work or it's with all those little interactions you come across on a daily basis. So we'll see you on the next video.